Would you all please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Burns?
Here.
Mr. Andriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Griffin?
Here. First item on our agenda this evening is a presentation by the Patterson Fire Department. This time I would invite Chief Spindorf up to the microphone, please.
Good evening. Matt Spinder, Chief of Patterson Fire Department. We were here a few weeks ago and discussed some possible changes to EMS. After a couple of lengthy meetings with the town and with our department and our department attorney, we certainly can appreciate the fiscal constraints of the town. And so we started looking for some alternatives that we might be able to provide at least as good a service as the proposal that we had offered before, possibly better service, and at the same time, keeping in mind the tough times with the budget. So, we wanted to, and I believe you guys have all had a copy of the proposal right from the town. So, anyway, basically, at some point here in the future, probably on or about June 30, Putnam Lake Fire Department, it's their intention to cease ambulance transport service and to move into certified first responder delivery. At that point, the Patterson Fire Department would assume full responsibility for EMS transport services, and we would continue as we currently do in the evenings, providing a duty crew of a trained EMT, driver, ambulance, and there would be a couple nights a week, 2 or 3 nights a week, that that duty crew would be supplemented by TransCare, which would be contracted by the town. We discussed with TransCare, and we're still in talks with them about the best method and the most cost-effective method for providing that supplemental staffing. It appears at this point that it would probably be cheaper for them to provide 2 EMTs to staff our ambulance as opposed to them providing an ambulance of their own and staffing it that way. Despite the offset of the billing revenue from TransCare by using their ambulance, the vast majority of the calls that Patterson and Putnam Lake District see is during the hours of 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is already being covered. But with the added cost of the vehicle and the insurance and everything else would probably make it more cost effective for them to just provide 2 EMTs to staff our ambulance. We would continue that at such time, probably for at least 5 or 6 months. At which point we would be looking to create a separate not-for-profit corporation that would provide EMS services for the town of Patterson, both Patterson and Putnam Lake Fire Districts. The not-for-profit corporation obviously would have the ability to bill, so the cost of the operation will be offset by billing revenue. However, the anticipated costs and the anticipated billing revenue under this proposal that you guys have before you would provide enough resources to staff 4 personnel, 5 during the day, but 4 personnel 24/7, 2 firefighter EMTs, and 2 firefighter certified first responders as drivers. And essentially what that will allow us to do is it will allow us to staff 2 ambulances for 2 simultaneous EMS runs, or it would enable us also to provide supplemental staffing for the volunteer fire department, as the employees would be participating in what we discussed before, the 209I program, where they would essentially be volunteering and providing staffing on the fire department side for any fire calls as well. So, and the original, the proposal that you have before you there, basically, the cost of that program would essentially be the same or slightly less for 4 or 5 people 24/7 than it would be for the original proposal, which was Transcare providing an ambulance with 2 EMTs 24/7 to do EMS only.
Matt, how, if you're talking about, you're gonna, as of July 1st, you wanna hire, you want the town to hire 2 Transcare workers and put them in your ambulance. How's the billing gonna be accomplished with that?
Well, if the, again, and the preliminary discussions that we have with Rob Stuck from Transcare, it appears that it's more cost effective because of the added cost of their ambulance, the insurance, et cetera, that even though they could bill if they used their ambulance, the added costs make it more beneficial for them to just staff our ambulance.
And there would be no billing at that point?
Correct.
Okay.
The cost approximately for 2 nights of coverage would be around $2,500, a little over $2,500 a month. And for 3 nights would be approximately $3,900 a month.
Okay. And then you talked about when you implement in the future, if we were to implement the plan where you would have the EMTs and the firefighters, you talked about having a 2nd ambulance crew. Where are we getting the 2nd ambulance from?
We currently have money allocated in our vehicle replacement fund to replace the ambulance that we currently have. So we would look to purchase another ambulance, either a new or used vehicle, and place the ambulance that we have now in reserve status. So obviously, if there was a need for a 2nd ambulance, that would be the one that would respond. If the primary ambulance had to go out for maintenance, routine oil change, et cetera, we would have a 2nd ambulance there to back that up.
Okay. Any board members have any questions at this time? Okay.
I just wanted to say also, when we talked about the budget, and I spoke to Trish, I didn't have I do not believe I have the total town valuation for 2015 yet. I don't know, it's probably not finalized, I guess, right till May.
Probably.
But in the years past, the town budget for fire and EMS protection was approximately $1.4 million,
Mm-hmm.
and the millage was 1.166 per thousand. To staff this proposal the way we have it laid out for you guys this evening, the total cost would be approximately $1.7 million, which would increase the millage to about 1.427 per thousand. And we did some preliminary calculations based upon the average assessed values of certain homes, and it works out to be probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 extra a month, or I'm sorry, a year. So certainly for less than $1 a day, we're going to have 24/7 staffing for both fire and EMS, 4 or 5 people, supplemented by the volunteers. And just to give you a little comparison, Mayapack, which is a part of the town of Carmel, a fire district in the town of Carmel, last year, or I should say this year, 2014, Their adopted budget is approximately $2.1 million at a millage of 1.74. So certainly the the increase that we're looking for in the tax rate and the additional revenue to fund fire and EMS under this proposal is certainly less than what Mayapack is right now for all volunteer fire and EMS. And it's certainly in line with a lot of our neighboring jurisdictions. Pauling and Beekman up in Dutchess County, they're also similar in terms of the millage and the total budget at less population.
You may have told us last time, but what was Mayapack doing? What are they? Is that Carmel Ambulance Mayapack, or is that a separate ambulance company from Mayapack?
Mayapack Fire Department provides both fire and EMS protection for the Mayapack Fire District.
As a volunteer, it's all volunteer. So TransCare, they have no TransCare.
No,
No.
other than the paramedic service from the county.
From the county, right? Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, well, we have a lot to think about, and certainly we have some more conversations. I know that there's been some conversations at the county level with TransCare also regarding the possibility of doing this at slightly larger scope, but I'm not sure how soon that's. Well, the county, TransCare has offered to put more ambulances and more staffing in the county, and actually at a reduced cost. The part of the issue is that would mean that the volunteers have to stand down from doing transports, because that's the only thing that TransCare really makes any serious money on, is doing the transports. They do some billing for showing up, but the bulk of the money that they make is from doing the transports. What happens now is if they're on the scene and a volunteer ambulance corps shows up, they do the transport, TransCare basically gets nothing. So they're willing to do more, but it would take a cooperative process throughout the county from the volunteers to make that work. The other downside to that, though, that people have to keep in mind is TransCare would do essentially hard billing. So if you got a bill for $750, you're going to have to pay that. Now, most of the time, your insurance will cover what the bill is, but if for some reason it doesn't, you're still going to be obligated. So one of the advantages with the volunteer fire departments doing it is they're legally not allowed to bill, but TransCare can bill you for pretty much anything they want. So
I know when my dad went to the hospital, you guys came out and then TransCare showed up, and then TransCare went in your ambulance with him to the hospital.
The paramedic.
The paramedic, right.
Yeah.
So under that scenario, assuming you were an independent, I know you can't bill, but assuming that was an independent or non-for-profit, what?
the AC.
Non-for-profit, could TransCare bill
They would
in that
still
instance?
They would still bill for the paramedic services.
So even though they're going in your ambulance, it's
Correct,
paramedic
because
services
they're
they're providing?
a higher level
Okay.
of service than the.
Gotcha.
Now, I would also like to add that as far as the as far as the county goes, and when we've had conversations with them as recently as last week, they continue to tell us that there is no anticipation of expanding from what they have now. They're waiting for the confirmation of a new commissioner of emergency services, and the county executive would not even entertain discussion of changing anything with the EMS services until after the commissioner was appointed and confirmed. Well, he's already been appointed, I guess.
Actually, they tabled it, so that might be a while until he's appointed.
Yeah.
So, and I know in having discussions, the County Fire Chiefs Association, she was a guest speaker last year, I believe, sometime, and we heard rumors that the county was looking to get out of EMS altogether. And we asked her about that. She said that was not the case, but we continue to hear those rumors. So I don't know that we're going to, as much as we think it would be wise down the road as a gold standard to look for countywide fire and EMS system. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
I think the word is that there's declining sales taxes and they're having problems with their budget too, so that's probably,
Well,
right?
I think any governmental entity is gonna have problems with their budgets these days, especially considering, the 2% tax cap, which, $3 million increase in our budget's gonna obliterate our tax cap, and probably take out of any possibility of anybody getting additional checks from the state. But I think it's pretty clear that as of July 1st, we're on our own, and we have to solve our problems within our town borders. So,
Now, the other thing I want to add, there is legislation pending that's being championed by FASNY, which is the Firemen's Association of the State of New York, and I forget exactly what the name of the bill was, but they're basically looking to equalize volunteer ambulance corps are allowed to bill, volunteer fire departments are not. And there seems to be an inequity there that nobody seems to be able to explain why one can do it and the other one can't. I haven't spoken to anybody from FASNY. I don't know what the chances are of that legislation passing. My understanding is that it's been in the works for at least 10 to 15 years, and we seem to be at an impasse for some reason about trying to get that pushed over the hump. So, but as I said, and we've discussed with the town before in these meetings, that it's definitely a county-wide problem. It's not unique to the town of Patterson. There's increased requirements and decreased staffing on both the EMS side and the fire side. We feel that this is probably the most cost-effective proposal to provide for both fire and EMS supplemental staffing at as a reduced cost as possible.
well, thank you, Matt. Well, like I said, you're giving us a lot to think about. Okay.
Chief Gagliaro with the Putnam Lake Fire Department. I just want to make the board aware that we've heard Matt's proposal, we've read Matt's proposal, and right now our focus on is finding coverage for EMS. We don't feel that we need any supplementation in the fire department and fire service yet. We have plenty of mutual aid, we have other agreements that work very well. We're solely focusing on the fact that we need EMS coverage yesterday. We came to you guys at April 30th as our deadline. We realized that there was no way to get a solution in place at that point. So we're doing our best to supply EMS until we come up with a solution. And the best date we were able to come up with was probably around July. So we're willing to stay in place, but the town needs to be aware that we can only give what we're already giving and it can't be any more.
Sure.
But we need to come up with a solid plan. And no disrespect to the Patterson Fire Department, but a half volunteer, half paid thing isn't really going to be the solution. It might be a very temporary Band-Aid, but we need something, full out 24/7 coverage to cover what the amount of calls that we're doing. We're doing well over, 700-800 EMS runs a year, and it's getting to be a little crazy. So we need to come up with a solid plan, and I recommend that TransCare be the solid plan until maybe something goes on board or something gets started. But a 24/7 coverage is paramount. And the county is looking at some options. We're well aware, we've all discussed them. The options would end up being cheaper on the county level, but putting more responsibility on the actual customer who calls and will be required to bill. So there's some give and take in the, the different systems. TransCare also has a lot better system status management when it comes to moving vehicles in as they're being used. So all that stuff needs to be taken into consideration when we sit down and look at this. I think we first need to come up with a solid solution right off the bat, and then we can work towards all the different other options that we have, the Great Swamp Vac, Patterson Vac, whatever we come up with, we can come up with other solutions. But something needs to be done sooner than later because it's getting tougher and tougher for us out there. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is a public hearing for alternate board members for various town boards. Michael, would you read the public notice, please?
Public notice, excuse me, is hereby given that there has been introduced before the town board of the town of Patterson, New York on March 25, 2015, an amendment to Patterson Town Code Chapter 2 entitled Alternate Board Members, which amendment will revise Chapter 2 to provide for the appointment of individuals to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Veteran Memorial Park Advisory Board, or the Putnam Lake Advisory Board that may temporarily serve on the board when regular members of the board may be unavailable. Now therefore, pursuant to Section 20 of the Municipal Home Rule Law, the Town Board of the Town of Patterson, New York will hold a public hearing on the aforesaid amendment at the town offices, 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York, on April 22nd, 2015, at 7 p.m. in the evening of that day, or as soon thereafter as may be held, at which time all persons interested therein shall be heard. The town board will make every effort to assure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. By order of the town board of the town of Patterson.
Okay, basically what this is legislation to allow various town boards to have alternates to the boards, so that if there's a time where they need somebody to sit in, they'll have that option. So if anybody has any questions or would like to make any comments, please come up to the microphone, state your name for the record, and ask a question, make a comment.
Seeing no comment?
One at a time, please.
There you go.
Pat.
Yay, Pat.
Somebody's got to do it.
There you go.
Pat Plugger, Putnam Lake Park District Advisory Board. A question, the number of people at alternates, how many would there be? Number one. Number two, would they be required to attend regular meetings to be up to snuff? I mean, the same sort of requirements that a regular board member would have? And then do they have full voting privileges, I'm assuming, in the absence of the full board? Or is it in the absence of a quorum?
Does the law say that they have to attend? I thought it was, I mean, I guess it wouldn't there.
Speak loud and into your microphone, please.
Does the proposed law say that they have to attend? Wouldn't it just be at the discretion of the board if
No,
they?
it's when the event occurs that they would be needed. So they don't have to go to every single meeting.
No, but you would hope if they're gonna be an alternate, they would follow along so
Right.
that they knew what they were coming to vote on.
There's some boards where that may be more applicable than others. Let's say the Zoning Board of Appeals, where you have an application that's submitted, you would know pretty soon that there may be a conflict, and at that point, the alternate. But would it be nice? Yes. Is it mandated? I don't believe it is.
Right.
And it's just one person.
So there would be for even our 7-member board, there would be only one alternate?
Yes, I believe that's the way it's structured.
And then he or she would vote only in the absence of one member, or if in the absence of a quorum?
That's a good question. That was the other, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so, you know what, that is a good question. If the way it reads is, the chair, each board may designate an alternate member to substitute for a member of their board when such member is unable to participate in an application or matter before their respective board. So it's that conflict.
Yeah, basically, it's not if somebody can't make a particular meeting, then the alternate sits in and
Right,
votes and does
right.
it.
So-
It's only if somebody's conflicted out, if I understand it.
As required by the chairman, or at the invitation of the chair of that board?
Well, it's the chair that designates, it says the chairperson of each board may designate an alternate member to substitute for a member of their board when such member is unable to participate. But Pat's question, I believe, is, let's say, for instance, tonight, we could only have two town, it doesn't apply to the town board, but for example, if there were only two town board members, would the alternate be entitled to be involved? No. If there is a member that has a conflict and that member is then called upon to step in for someone else, then they would be involved. If that makes sense to you.
So it's not in the absence of a quorum?
That's right. It's in the it's in the event that a particular member is unable to participate in an application or a matter.
Because of a conflict?
It-
Or not because he or she is on
I
vacation.
don't think it expressly says conflict.
Well,
Can
no.
I just clarify as author?
Sure.
Because I did write this.
Okay.
It's not just a conflict. If
Well-
somebody goes away on vacation, then the chairman could call on somebody to fill the seat.
Okay, I'm just reading what
Well, again, the way I wrote it, the way
Okay.
the intent is, it's in the absence of a member's ability to participate.
okay.
And that's not just a conflict, that's if they're away on vacation, if they've got to go on sickness, whatever.
Okay.
Mike, are you reading that there is a different way, a more clear way of saying that, so that the intent is clear?
You know,
Not, I don't mean
didn't-
right now, I mean to look at it before.
You know, Sean, I didn't study it,
I know.
you know, at great
It's
length.
pretty simple.
So, I think it's fine. I read it as if you're unable to participate or a matter, then,
Well, there's some discretion in there for the chair
There is.
as well.
yeah.
And Pat, the adoption of this local law doesn't require an alternate member. That's at your board's discretion. It has been helpful in the past with planning and zoning board over the years. Not many times, but it has come up where there's been conflicts on certain applications where members of boards have, we've used alternates.
Where you've
But-
used alternates on planning, did you have to, was there a conflict, or no, was there a quorum, or did you not have?
No, I think there was an issue years ago, Rich, you may remember, where I think either a zoning member stepped in for the planning board as an alternate or vice versa on an application.
You're right.
Yeah. So they're already up on the process.
issues,
Because there's a
okay.
lot of, overlap between planning and zoning.
Right.
And also, Mike and I had just noted, it looks like planning board was omitted from the local law resolution, but was not intended to be. It says zoning and the park boards, but planning is not
Sean,
mentioned.
that's because we already have the local law. The local law is already applicable to planning board members.
It
So
does,
this-
zoning wasn't in that?
No.
Oh,
So
I
this
didn't
is
realize
only
that.
modifying it for the zoning board and the two
I
park
apologize.
advisory boards.
Okay.
My apology.
Pat, do you think that this would help your board, or?
I think just on brief discussion that we had, we were, Mike Erico was here from our board, we thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
My last question, I think, is that would this person be then apply, be interviewed, be appointed as an alternate, or is it just somebody that the chair calls out of the community last minute?
I think it'd be identified.
No, you would have to designate them in advance.
Okay.
You can't just be, okay,
You're pinch hitting.
come on up.
Right, exactly. Okay, thank you.
You'll do.
Hey, sit down. You're too smart for that, aren't you? Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any other comments? Yeah, a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, order to the bills, please.
I will make a motion to approve abstract number 7 dated April 8th, 2015, in the amount of $824,770.58. So moved.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. D'Andriano?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Do you want me to start Charlie's, or?
If
Sure, I'll start. I don't know about
Well,
chips, but
let's-
I'll start up to that if you want.
Well, I just want to say that based on the first item on his agenda, for the 22nd year in a row, Alan Jacknick has received a satisfactory report from Ag and Market. So congratulations, Alan, for a job well done for 22 years.
As well as.
As well as the municipal shelter, Brook Farm, received a satisfactory inspection.
Yeah, but they've only been doing it for like 3 years.
Well, you know.
They don't come close to his record, but go right ahead.
All right, so next item on Charlie's agenda is a letter from the Patterson Fire Department appointing new members. Please be advised the following new members have been added to the rolls of the membership of the Patterson Volunteer Fire Department: Albert Rossi and Justin Spinzer. Also a letter from Putnam, did I say that was Spindor? Sorry. The second letter is from Putnam Lake Fire Department, adding Tom Dixon as a member. Chips, I don't know. What's the chips?
Basically, the state has sent us our authorization, and due to the goodness of their heart, they have also given us an extra $19,000 this year. So the total chips for this year is $135,353.37. So, Russ, spend it well. Sean?
Okay, first item I have is a request for a release of a bond for Pond View subdivision based on a recommendation from the planning board. They have bonds that total $1,440,000. The two bonds, the request is to release those bonds, so moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And after our public hearing, thank you, Pat, for the comment, because otherwise it would have been quite boring. I will move the resolution, the final resolution for the local law number 1. What are we, April? And we're only on number 1, so that's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's kind of be
It's
nice
all
to
year.
get through the whole year without making any more new rules, but,
So
we
I'll
have,
introduce this resolution
All right.
as if it were read.
okay.
I
Yeah.
second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
And lastly, we have some requests from, first off, from the Park Advisory Board. They would like to hire a head guard, increase the salary of the head guard, Robert Zaharchuk, to $16 an hour. It's a 45-cent an hour raise. He comes highly recommended with lots of years of experience, and that's the recommendation from the Park Advisory Board and the chair, Carrie Weisenecker. So I'm going to move that request. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And we also have a request from the Park Advisory Board to hire their lifeguards for the Patterson Veterans Memorial Park. We have, as previously mentioned, Robert Zaharchuk, who will be one of their head lifeguards, as well as Nicholas Booth, James O'Connell, Sam Callahan, Chris Ravo, Katie Leonard, Rob Constantino, Michael Vizella, Thomas Hawley, Matthew Hawley, and Hannah Burns.
Woohoo!
Yay.
No more asking for money for movie night.
Although I note that Hannah's the lowest paid on the list,
That's
unfortunately.
okay.
but,
She's on the list. That's
she's on
good.
the list, so I'll move that request.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Do I have to abstain as to Hannah? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think you're okay.
I think
Plus, we're
you're
having
right.
discussion and we want to double her
Everything
salary,
else,
but
That's it.
Okay. First item on my agenda is local legislation. Well, we have any number of suggestions for legislation for the state senate to move on. That's not exactly what this request is about. We have a letter from our senator. If we need any general housekeeping, I've checked with all departments. At this time, we do not, so there's no action to be taken on that. Rental registration law, this has been kind of hanging around for a while now. We have a memo that goes back quite a ways that basically questions whether our rental registration law is viable the way it's currently written. It basically requires that before you can get a rental registration approval, that the town has to do an inspection. That's been held by the courts to be illegal. I have some questions. I understand the Fourth Amendment and that type of thing, but at the same time, I have concerns that, you know, Counselor, if the town is going to say it's okay to have a rental registration, but yet we can't go in and do an inspection for safety purposes and make sure the smoke detectors, proper egress, et cetera, does the court ruling alleviate us from the responsibility if something happens and there's a fire or something and somebody doesn't get out? I mean, that's really our concern.
Level concern. Yeah.
Because a lot of people have put in apartments, you know, they're in a basement or something where there's no way to get out. If there was a fire, there's only one egress. The windows don't meet code requirements for escape windows. Some of them don't have smoke detectors or CO detectors. And that was our primary principal concern, because the town is essentially legitimizing these apartments, and if we're going to tax somebody for it, you know, if something happens, you know, I don't want a lawyer coming back at us and saying, hey, you know, you guys said it was a legal apartment, it was legitimate, and didn't meet code, somebody died in a fire, now you're getting sued. My concern hasn't changed. I still see it as a safety issue, but the courts have held that you can't require an inspection, so.
Well, without a warrant. I think you'd be able to get a warrant.
Well, I don't see where the town's gonna wanna get a warrant for each and every one of these. There's over 200 of them in the town that I'm aware of.
of the ones who have signed
About
up,
that number, Cheryl? So,
Of the-
oh, hi, Bob.
of the ones who have signed up, who are they generally refusing an inspection, or is what's
Currently,
the?
as of right now, we have 168.
Have you had any problems with people refusing inspection?
No, most actually, they do allow us to come in and inspect. And half to 2/3 of the time, actually, we're going back for a re-inspection. No, actually, we're finding it. You know,
Well,
so-
again, I mean, I think that's the principal concern, is to make sure that these are safe for habitation, that somebody's not just getting stuck in a basement off a boiler room or something where there's only one way in and out and maybe no windows at all.
Well, that's the whole thing is too, is you gotta have proper egress, we always. look at
Sure,
windows.
sure.
But also, I know Village of Brewster, I'm not too familiar with, you know, I'm just getting to that, they don't do a rental registration, they say they veer away from the rental registration. They do a property registration, so any commercial and residential, you have to register. And what that actually does is you get a form and states what is my inventory. And what that actually does, it actually now it gives up the assessor part too. And a lot of times they'll disclose stuff that, you know, they're not even realizing that they're disclosing. I have 4 bedrooms, and it's like, no, you have 3. You know, so all of a sudden it could be actually beneficial for, you know, assessment and also for building.
I know in Brewster, I had an interaction with the Village of Brewster where a client of mine was issued an appearance ticket for not permitting the building inspector access, and we're disputing this issue right now, whether they legitimately can have access without a search warrant. So
How about administrative warrant?
well, that's where we make reference in the memo. I called it a search warrant before, but that's really what you're looking for is administrative warrant.
Well, the only reason I bring this up is because I was going through files of stuff that, you know, I keep things that eventually I work my way back around to. And I looked at this and I went, you know, this has been hanging around for quite a while and it hasn't been addressed in probably almost a year.
Yeah.
So, thought being that if we are out of compliance, we need to get into compliance. So I would just ask that, you know, Bob and you and Richie maybe sit down and go through.
We already hashed this out. You've got the amendments to the law.
I know that. There's a red line version in here, and et cetera. The only question was, is Bob raised a point about, is there a better way to do this? So I think that's the only,
Well, it's also a possibility for this rental, this resident registration, is basically seeing what our inventory is anyway. You know, that could be also the other option of it too.
all right, well then we can revamp the law, get that settled, and then we can look at other options.
The only other option you've got that I'm aware of is if we put something in there that the property owners are self-certifying.
Right.
If they don't allow the in-home inspection, that they self-certify.
Well, does
But
that,
we had pitched that, a year ago when we proposed the changes to the law and, you know, nobody really wanted to do the self-certification.
does that satisfy the court if they have an opt-out provision?
Well,
If we put an opt-out provision in saying you self-certify or submit to an inspection, does that satisfy the courts?
well, we can't force the submittal to the inspection, but we can say you can self-certify.
Right, but if they choose not to do either,
Well, if they,
so then we'd be left to go to get
If
a
they choose not
warrant.
to self-certify, they don't get the permit.
right.
Or we have to get a warrant, or an administrative.
But we can't get the administrative warrant without reasonable cause.
So basically, though, that at least at that point, if they self-certify, then the liability's on them.
Yeah, and that's, you guys have looked at the special context about the liability, so it doesn't attach right away. Even though you guys may regulate the registration of the apartments, there's a particular point where the liability attaches for the municipality. But if they're not going to self-certify and then they don't have a permit, then I think you guys have done what you intended to do. You know, and if you have to take it a step further, then you make the application for the administrative permit. Because the burden isn't as high as the search warrant.
No, absolutely not. It's
Much lower.
All right, well, then, I think we can move forward on this and we'll set it up for.
You brought it up. Do you want to talk about doing self-certification? Do you want
Yeah,
to add
I
it in
think
there?
we have to have
Okay.
some methodology to protect the town. If we can't actually go in and do an inspection, or somebody refuses an inspection, there's gotta be a way to protect the town to say, okay, look, if something does happen, and it's, to me, I'm concerned that, the fire department's not gonna have the information they need. We're not gonna have the ability to go in and inspect to make sure it's safe for somebody to even be in there. So, I just want to make sure the town's protected in this, and to the best of our ability. Matt?
Yeah, Matt Spinder, Chief of Patterson Fire Department. I was wondering if you could just clarify for us, anything over 2 apartments is considered a multiple dwelling, correct? Because, we just had a fire on First Street last week. Technically, the building had 3 apartments. It's considered a multiple dwelling. Should be inspected at least annually. To our knowledge, there was not one smoke detector in the entire building. Obviously, we wouldn't have access to the apartments anyway for inspection, but even the common areas, not one working smoke detector. Wow. In the entire building. And fortunately, the people were still somewhat awake and smelled the fire before it started to really extend into the building. But I'm sure that building is certainly not unique among the town. You need to have some method by which these buildings are being inspected on at least an annual basis to protect the residents and to protect us.
On a rental registration, we do it every 3 years, and he wasn't actually certified. He was served a notice of violation with that.
This apartment?
Pardon?
This apartment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every 3 years, actually, we do a rental registration, which is actually inspected.
He was served a notice of violation just recently.
Correct. That's when it's brought up to court.
That was brought up after the fire.
Correct.
There's a lot of times you're going to find these things. There's a lot of, I would suggest there's probably somewhere a couple hundred in the town that are registered. There's probably a couple hundred that are illegal.
Need to be, yeah.
And we have no idea how safe they are or aren't. But basically what we've done is we've worked off of the assessor's records and the building department's records to try and figure out to the best we can who has apartments. But you send out a mailer, people don't fess up. There's only so much you can do. But that puts the responsibility and the onus back on them. Not that's the only issue here. I don't want to see anybody get hurt in a fire or get trapped in a building where they can't get out simply because somebody wanted to make a few bucks. But we'll continue to do the best we can. We'll bring this up and we'll move it forward to get the law amended, and we'll do add the opt-out provision, and we'll go from there.
So that'll be local law number 2.
Hot dog. PSSI proposal, brought this up last week quickly. We had asked for comments from various entities. I'm still waiting for comments from a couple of folks. Jamie, thank you. I appreciate your input. Matt, same thing. But I'm going to table this because I still want to hear from our fire code inspector and a few other folks. So, LoSAP settlement update. Counselor, you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. From where we had last left off last Friday, I'm sorry, two Wednesdays ago, I prepared a resolution for consideration for the board to authorize the essentially settlement of the claim or payment of the retrospective post-entitlement accrual benefits. And just a quick recap on how that all works again. It's very simple. The plan says after age 65, even if you are accruing...
Can you speak in? I don't think people can hear you.
Sure. The way our length of service awards program operates, that program is a benefit program for volunteers in each of the departments that...
Can you get closer? People are
Okay.
here. You may want to pick it up.
Okay.
Is it working?
System did this first.
That's the one that Sue just gave us, yeah.
Okay. So the board is considering a resolution that I drafted in connection with the length of service awards program to authorize the payment of retrospective post-entitlement benefits. Currently, our plan provides that after age 65, you're no longer entitled. That's entitlement age, when you're entitled to start collecting benefits under the plan. If you're an active volunteer firefighter and you're not 100% vested, you cannot vest 100% because you're cut off at age 65. So hypothetically, if it takes 30 years to vest and at age 65 you have 25 years in the department, you're foreclosed from those 5 extra years. In 2006, the EEOC brought a litigation against a number of volunteer fire departments in the, municipalities in the state of New York, claiming age discrimination, and was successful. That this cutoff, entitlement age, preventing people from fully vesting is essentially violates the U.S. Code or the age discrimination prevention provisions of the United States Code. In response to that, departments over time have amended their length of service awards program to keep entitlement age at whatever that age is determined to be. Some departments have 60, some have 62, some have 65, but they've amended the plan to say that you're not cut off as long as you're providing active service, as that's defined under the general municipal law. There's a whole criteria of what is used to be determined what is active to reach your points, your state points. You can continue until you fully vest. For the Town of Patterson Town Board, it's been put on notice of the EEOC claim, and that there have been members of the departments who have in fact been cut off from fully vesting because of the age. So we have prepared a resolution that would authorize the town board to compensate those members of the departments who were cut off but who had reached their provided their active service to the departments. We were provided information from the plan administrator or the plan provider, which is a company by the name of VFIS. That's the plan that provides these benefits that the town board pays for. So the resolution authorizes the town board to purchase those post-entitlement benefits, essentially pay VFIS what it needs to pay in order to compensate the members who have been affected by the cutoff in the plan. And that's what this does. Further to the discussion at the last town board meeting, I talked to Joe Visconti at he's essentially the broker for our plan and VFIS. I confirmed that we can authorize and direct them to do that, and that our resolution would be satisfactory to cover that, to give them the authority that they need to facilitate that. And that's what's before the town board this evening.
All right, I only have one question on the resolution. It talks about fully vested after 30 years of active service. I believe our plan is 20 years
20,
of active.
okay.
So you want to modify that?
Certainly.
Okay, well then at this point, if you're satisfied that we can do this settlement this way, then I'm going to move the resolution as written with the one change that vested after 20 years of active service. And that, other than that, I will move the resolution as read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we're going to continue, we're going to go ahead with the referendum to modify the plan.
Yeah, I spoke at length this morning again to Bill Young, who's the attorney for the Association of the Fire Districts. He's an author of a lot of the legislation that's been passed over the last 30 years with regard to the volunteer fire departments and ambulance corps. And I brought to him Dave Garwood's position. Dave's at Pinsky's firm. He also represents the Patterson Fire Department. Their firm, they speak regularly across New York about fire district law, and they're one of the go-to people. The subject of the discussion was, did that EEOC determination preempt the section of general municipal law that says the method in which your plan is adopted must be the same method in which you either change or eliminate the plan, and that's what calls for the referendum.
Okay.
So the discussion that we had was the common sense one, which was, well, what do you do if you go to referendum and it fails? Do you
Right.
stay being in a discriminatory situation?
Right.
And I said, what do we do? You know, I said, I looked at the preemption issue. Preemption seems to be, it appears that we need something to be more on point to facilitate the preemption. It appears that worst case scenario is that if you don't have the referendum, then it's likely that you're going to be audited by the controller, or if your independent audit discloses it, then the controller would be on notice. They would ding you and then have you request that you guys go to a referendum. I called the comptroller's office. There's counsel there. I submitted a request for them to render an opinion back to us to tell us exactly what we should do. Because in speaking to the counsel at the controller's office, the attorney that I talked to, he was familiar with the issue. He knows we're in a catch-22. The legislature hasn't fixed it yet, but if they're not going to audit us, then if they've determined collectively across the board that you're not going to be subject to an audit for not having a referendum, then I don't want the town to go out to a referendum if you don't have to.
What's the time frame for getting that back as opposed to when we'd have to do the referendum?
Oh yeah, I should hear back within the next week on that question, and then if we went out to referendum, it would be with your general election. You wouldn't have to have a special election.
Okay.
So we have some time, but
Yeah, they just don't want to get jammed up with the EEOC, because if there's in the future, if there's a claim,
right.
and someone goes and files agreements with the EEOC,
Well, now you're
they can't. Well, at least we've taken steps to correct the problem.
right.
So we've
right.
addressed the financial inequity by our resolution.
Right.
But the long-term referendum or change to the plan may have to be a referendum. That's the issue.
Yeah, but all
That's
this
it.
is going to do right now is satisfy those that have
Been aggrieved.
Been aggrieved.
Right.
But in the future, if there are aggrieved parties, when we can still be in the
Gotcha.
same situation, so it's best we get the plan amended. All right, so motion been made, seconded. I think we all voted, so we can move on. Kevin?
Well, quick update. Penguins 1, Rangers 0. Sorry. But followed by that, a letter from an attorney. I have a letter from Mr. McCormick. As you may recall, there was a image that was used by the Patterson Rec Center on their website. We received a notice of a cease and desist notice, and they said that the photo had been copyrighted, and they asked us to take it down. We promptly did. They wrote to us previously requesting a statutory settlement. There are statutory damages for copyright infringement. I think I was skeptical that this would ever come back and just said, let's do nothing and wait and see. What was that, 6 months ago? So-
Probably more than that.
So basically, it came up on this guy's diary again. He realized we hadn't sent him any cash, so he sent us another letter. So it's from Mr. McCormick of Intellectual Property and Business Law in Seattle, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is this is his big client, and he sends about 1,000 of these a month to make money. I guess the question is, do we do nothing again and wait to see if he files suit? Don had said the statutory damages start, I think, at $200. We could write him back and offer $200. The only question I had, and I never really got a clear answer, was whether or not that would be conditioned upon demonstrating that the photo was in fact copyrighted.
Yeah, Don. I spoke to Don before the meeting. He's asked him to provide us
that?
with the copyright.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the letter says, yeah, we do have that right. We can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just, there's no,
It's like a circular argument.
yeah,
I mean, he's asking for $910. He'll take $445. The question is, do we offer him anything or $200 and get a release, or do we just wait for the next letter of the lawsuit to come in?
well, I think that write him back and tell him that, we want some definitive proof that the piece in question was copyrighted, and
Right.
and that this group or organization is entitled to compensation from it.
Right.
We don't know if they're actually holding the copyright or not.
So can you write that letter and just say that, we will take no action until we receive proof of copyright?
Yep.
Perfect.
Next item on my agenda is a recreation request. I have a memorandum from Bat Chabarro regarding first aid and CPR training. Angel Care Safety will be providing American Safety and Health Institute's wilderness first aid training, approximately 12 hours, and CPR for professional rescuers, approximately 6 hours. The cost for first aid training is $100 a person. This training is included in the 2015 budget line as responding to emergencies. No more than 4 persons will take the wilderness training. The CPR Pro class is provided to the town at no cost. I'm anticipating 10 employees will take this training. He's requesting approval for staff members to complete the mandatory first aid and CPR training and be compensated for the training time. So I'll make a motion to approve the attendance of up to 10 employees for the CPR class and up to 4 employees for the wilderness first aid training as compensated. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Next item is just, I guess this is more just an FYI, that the following prices will be effect for the upcoming sessions offered by the Rec Center. Guitar Center, $80 per child. Tumble Time, $80 per child. Tag Sale Vendor Space, $25 for space. Camp is $160 a week, $150 for each additional week. Flag football is $160. Lego Camp is $160. And before camps and after camps are $50 per child or $15 per day, and there's also a pre-K camp. So I know they're very valuable programs, and they are all accounted for in the budget, so I think it's just more FYI. I don't think we're approving anything, so.
Well, Sally Ed, I checked,
Are we?
and Tumble Time is out for you and me.
What? She wants what?
I think we're just a
Okay,
tad
all right.
over the age limit.
So do we make a motion approving these?
Sure.
All right, so I'll make a motion approving the recommended guidelines for program prices for those various camps as read. And I should note that there are discounts if you are a rec member fee or if you're doing multiple weeks at the camp. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Good.
Item C, sale of surplus items. Highway had retained AAR auctions to sell some surplus property. Actually, was it Highway? I guess it was townwide. It wasn't just Highway. So there were, I guess, 6 lots that were sold for various amounts. They did okay. Some were better than others. Overall, there's a recommendation that we accept the bids as submitted through the AAR auction outcome. This is from Margot Russellgoff's secretary. So I'd make a motion to approve the sale of the 6 lots that were auctioned off on AAR auctions online as submitted. So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
All right, I have 2 items to end my agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead.
All right, next item is actually the Park Advisory Board has requested that the Highway Department obtain bids for mulch. Margot made calls around and found that the cheapest mulch was with as $20 per yard delivered from JF Walsh Mulch in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. We require 50 yards, and at that rate, they would be waiving the delivery fee. So I make a motion to approve the Park Advisory Board through the Highway Department, I guess, purchasing $1,000 worth of mulch, 50 yards of mulch, to deliver to the park for distribution. So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Last item on my agenda is just an update. I did attend the Scout Blue and Gold Dinner last Saturday, the crossing over from a Weeblo to a Boy Scout. It was well attended. The sheriff was there, our county legislator, Ginny Nasarino, was there, and Mary Ellen Odell was there. And as a true politician, since I didn't have certificates in hand, I told them that they would be in the mail. It's probably the worst thing that you can hear from a politician, the certificates in the mail. But I would ask our supervisor when I get a list if we could sign the certificates.
Well, I just want to say that there have always been certificates.
Right,
Who's
yeah.
been very good about that. However, this year, the Scouts didn't not
submit it.
provide us a list of who was crossing over, so consequently, there were no certificates.
So consequently, I had to get up and say
So
that
if we
certificates in
get
the mail.
if we get a list, we will send certificates.
All right.
If not,
I will
those
follow up.
those Scouts will get their first taste of how government really truly works.
That is all I have. On that note, I started with the Rangers and I ended with that. Wow.
How do I top that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we should
Talk about pancakes.
just
End it right there.
I top it by the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh.
There
Always
you
get the-
go.
Always get the crappy agenda.
Excuse me.
Okay, first item on my agenda is the bulk service contract for the wastewater treatment plant. I have a memo here from the town planner, Rich Williams. Received the annual quote from the Paul Advanced Separation Systems for the Patterson Hamlets wastewater treatment plant's microfiltration unit. Fall service agreement is part of the preventive maintenance program to ensure the plant continues to operate properly. Annual service contract includes a system inspection, annual cleaning, and 24/7 service support. So I'd like to make a motion, the contract Also, he says the board should also note that the microfiltration system is part of the New York City DP upgrades, and it is an eligible expense for partial reimbursement. So we could probably get some money back. And the cost for this year's annual contract is $11,790, reflecting a 4.2% increase from the 2014 contract, which was $11,310. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve $11,790 to renew the contract with Paul Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next time, I have some announcements. Saturday, May 2nd, Putnam County Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day at Fawnstalk Park, Route 301 in Kent. Items accepted: drain oven cleaners, rug and upholstery cleaners, polishes, waxes, spot removers, oil-based paints, solvents, thinners, wood preservatives, strippers, and so on. What is not accepted is electronic waste, used oil, latex paint, lead acid batteries, plastic bags, and tires. We're all invited to the Row of Honor Kickoff Pancake Breakfast, which is Saturday, May 16th, from 9 o'clock to 11 a.m. It's at the Carmel VFW Hall, Route 52. Can't really read this too much, but
$8 a person.
$8 a person, and all proceeds go towards the Traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall. And I have to plug my Child Safety Day, which is actually for the people that are here, because by the time it airs, it'll be over. But this Sunday, April 26th, at the Putnam Lake VFW, be the Patterson Chamber of Commerce Annual Child Safety Day. There'll be child fingerprint ID cards. There'll be a car seat check, police canine demos, fire truck displays by the Putnam Lake Fire Department, as well as the ambulance. We also have, I also got the Red Cross is coming to do some emergency preparedness stuff. And we are also having our Putnam Lake Neighborhood Watch is going to be there with some crime prevention, neighborhood watch information, a sign-up sheet, some information if you want to get involved in the Neighborhood Watch, and some other attractions. I think the state police is also bringing their rollover simulator, which is going to be pretty cool too. So, the week after that, there's another safety fair, the Children's Expo and Public Safety Fair. It's Saturday, May 2nd, at the Donald B. Smith campus on Old Route 6 in Carmel from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And they're not going to have as many nice, cool stuff as us, but they are going to have a helicopter. Maybe I'll have to work on that next year.
Yeah.
But they are going to do as well car seat checks, Operation Safe Child. They'll have fire trucks there as well, food, games, live music, and entertainment.
Good stuff.
Also, this Saturday is the Patterson Militaria and Knife Collector Show at the Patterson Rec Center. It starts at 9 a.m., adults $5, and children under 12 are free. I'd like to make a motion to add an item to my agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a couple of requisitions from the Putnam Lake Park Advisory Board. I have a proposal for swim lessons for an instructor, Ann Krupeni, okay, and swim lessons for an assistant to be determined, to total for the season $1,474. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next one is for the 2015 softball budget. They're requesting, I guess, $6,821. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And they also are asking or requesting to purchase a lifeguard chair, a large lifeguard chair,
Two lifeguard chairs.
two lifeguard chairs, sorry. They are $825 each. Okay, that's the lowest bid. They had three prices here. From the lifeguard store is the lowest bid here. The next one was the other two were $949.69, $968, and the total cost. Make a motion to approve $1,650 for two lifeguard chairs. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's all I have.
Well, other business. I think we got it all.
Mike, could we go back to the fire department new members? I think you guys have to approve the new members.
Oh, I thought we just had to announce it, but if you'd say so.
Yeah, a simple motion would
Ah,
do it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Putnam Lake and Patterson Fire Department new members as read. So moved.
Second.
Great.
Is that a simple motion and simple enough?
As long as you vote, that's good.
Well, we're getting there. Just want to make sure it's
It
simple
is.
enough.
It is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Favorite part of the meeting, public recognition. Does any member of the public wish to be recognized at this time?
I would hope we wouldn't,
You've already been up, Pat. Come on.
Oh, all right, anybody else want to go?
We're going to sell tickets next time.
Three things, all having to do with the Putnam Lake Park District. The softball league it should be noted, is a self-supporting league as it has been for many, many years. This was just an expense item. The income item is $11,000. Their actual expenses are about $6,800. The rest goes towards maintenance of the field, mowing, dumpsters, pour sand, stuff like that. So things that we would have to pay for out of the tax, the Park District tax, were it not for the league participating.
And it went well last year, didn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it did, very well. I have one announcement for those of you on the board who attend our meetings. I apologize for some of the confusion we've had in the past few months. We have now straightened it out. Our public meeting, the first meeting of the month, will be the first Thursday, and it will be upstairs in the meeting room at the Putnam Lake Fire Department. The third Thursday will be at the New Life Church as usual. And Pete, I'm sorry for any confusion we caused you.
It's actually better because I can make them again. I couldn't
Good.
make those Tuesday nights, so I could.
Okay. And I have some wonderful news that I shared last week with Mike. We are delighted to announce that as of tomorrow at 5 o'clock, the Patterson Little League will be returning to Memorial Field in Putnam Lake.
Good.
So we're, yes, thank you. There's a Laker saying that, thank goodness, it's been a long time. This is a practice session tomorrow, and then they will be, their games, we don't know the schedule yet, but we are looking at probably 2 games. I think we talked about it Tuesday evening and hopefully it's Saturday. So we welcome everybody in town to come and see them play on our field. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Good.
That's good.
nice.
Hi, my name is Nancy Calfell. I'm a Patterson resident. I just have 2 questions. LOSAP, is there any kind of financial impact that that's going to have on the town?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Fairly substantial impact.
Such as-
Currently, the length of service awards program is approximately $140,000 a year. This will impact the budget by about $30,000 a year for approximately 4 years to get caught up. So currently the plan is funded at about 85%. This will take it down to about 70, I think 3 or 4% funding, and then it has to be paid back over a period of time. The total compensation for the individuals involved, I believe, is right around 6 figures.
6 figures per individual?
No. Total.
How many?
I believe it's 7 or 8.
8 people, 6 figures.
Well, it's unfortunately a lot of them were locked out very early in the process. Some of them were only 1 or 2 years, and Ed Sedefani in particular, he was, I think, 62 or 3 when the program was implemented, and he had 2 years. Then he was automatically bounced out, but he's now in his 80s and he's still making his points. Wow. So, oh yeah, no, Ed is amazing. I mean, he is an absolute phenom in my book. He's a World War II veteran. He probably makes as many calls as anybody at the firehouse, and he's been active in the fire police since there were fire police.
Okay, I don't know who the people are, but I just feel that, 6 figures and 5 people, 6 people, whatever many you said, it's quite a bit of money.
It is.
Yeah.
That was my first question, because money wasn't mentioned. And the other was, Pete, you said something about an instructor going for lessons?
No.
What was that?
Giving the lessons.
Giving lessons.
They're hiring an
Giving
instructor.
lessons.
Yeah.
The Putnam Lake.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were paying an instructor to take
To
lessons.
take lessons.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I was gonna correct it, but I thought everybody got the,
No, they didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
that's all right.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else? Sorry this couldn't have been more entertaining, but
Motion to adjourn?
it happens. Is there a
Make it-
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.